order should I read your books? Well, whatever order you want. It doesn't really matter. It's not like Harry Potter or something when you're going to find out in book 6 something that ruins book 1. All of my books are separate from each other and stand alone and don't have anything to do with each other. So you can read them in whatever order you'd like. I mean, I probably, if I were you, I'd read them in the order in which they were written, because I do think there are small ways in which, like, for instance, Paper Towns is a pretty conscious response to some of the things in Looking for Alaska, and particularly some of the, like, reader responses to Looking for Alaska. So I'd read them in the order in which they were written, I guess. So I'd start with Looking for Alaska, and then I'd read Catherine's, and then I'd read Paper Towns. Poor Catherine's is definitely the least loved of my books. It's the funny one, and I think maybe, while I am funny as a person, or I'd like to think that I'm funny as a person, maybe that's not so much what they want in writing. Are you healthy? Gallbladder related. I just answered a question that was in all capital letters, which I promised I wouldn't do. I'm sorry. It's just that they're so easy to see. I mean, I'm not 100%, but I also feel pretty good, and I'm able to eat a lot more and back to, maintaining my weight, which is really nice, and yeah, so I'm doing I'm doing well, and I hope to be able to hold on to this level of health for a while, because it was a long 6 months. What was the hardest book for you to write? The hardest book for me to write by far was The Fault in Our Stars, the book that I just finished. It was hard for a number of reasons. First, when I finished Paper Towns, there was this big community of nerdfighters that I really cared about and was really excited about, and I got to hang out with those people and make videos with you guys and do projects with you, and that was so exciting that it was hard to find the kind of focus time that I need to write. So that was one thing. The main reason that it was hard was just because of the subject matter. I've been trying to write. Most of you know that I worked as a chaplain at a children's hospital when I was younger, like 11 years ago, back in 2001 or 2000. Geez, yeah, 2000. And back when I was doing that work, I really wanted to write a story that was set in a children's hospital, and I've wanted to write a story that was set in a children's hospital pretty much ever since then. And every time I started a book, it would be a book set in a children's hospital, and then it would morph into something else. So that was true for Looking for Alaska and Paper Towns and Catherine's. I would always start out trying to write this children's hospital book that was going to be funny and sad, and was going to be hopefully like less sentimental than most of the books about illness that I'd seen. I was just going to kind of have a different take on it. And it never happened for a variety of reasons. But the main one was that it was just too hard. I think it was too hard. Here's the trick about writing something. You have to be able to write an emotionally honest story. At least for me, you have to be able to write an emotionally honest story that isn't sentimental, that isn't nostalgic, that doesn't rely on all these tropes that we've gotten over the years about how to make people happy and how to make people sad. Because I don't think, some of that stuff is true, but a lot of it isn't really true, at least in my experience, to the experience of being ill or to the experience of going through, one of those big life crisis moments. Because the truth in my experience is that those big moments are funny and weird and uncomfortable and fun and joyous and sad in the very same way that almost all the rest of human life is, but perhaps just only more so. I think that I was still too close to it for a long time. It was really tough for me. It was only a few months that I worked as a chaplain, but I saw a lot of very sick young people. I saw a lot of young people die. I saw a lot of families torn apart, and it's very difficult stuff to think about. And I think when I would think about it or write about it, it was really difficult for me not to be sentimental and nostalgic and melodramatic and everything. So that was really the struggle with that story all those years. Also, I couldn't get myself out of it. Like I couldn't resist the urge to write about myself because it was haunting me so personally all that time. And so, the stories would always come across as like both very autobiographical and very self-indulgent. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with writing something autobiographical, but there is something inherently wrong with writing something that's self-indulgent. So, for a long time, for years and years and years, I was trying to write this story but it was always about me on some level, and that just wasn't going to work. And finally, when I was trying to write a bunch of other stories, when I was trying to write this story set on a desert island, when I was trying to write this zombie apocalypse novel, when I was trying to do this and this and this, finally, I found a way into writing that story that I've been trying to write all this time, and it was still really hard to write. It still took a long time. It was still really tough, but I got it done.